Shebahn Aherne.
I'm Deb. Deb Shaw.
Deb and Sheb.
Yeah, that works.
Go on. There you go.
Shebs? No.
Shebs. Do you hate nicknames, actually?
Just Shebs works fine because it's B-E.
Yeah, it does. Shebs and Debs.
Shebs is.
That's it. It's branded already. There you go.
Should we get married, is it?
I think.
Are we flirting?
I think we're meant to be.
Too soon. My husband's just out there, Deb.
Sorry. What I wanted to actually talk to you about is that I feel like a lot of people know you through Ruesha.
Yeah.
They don't really know you exactly, especially in like the media personality, broadcasting, journalism space. Mm-hmm. And I think over here at Her Sport, of course we focus on the female athletes, but it's also important to promote like women's sport from like a journalist perspective.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about that. You started out quite young, right?
Yeah. I was like 15 when I managed to get into radio.
That's young.
It was young, and it's funny driving into campus today. It was like I never got to go to uni, and I always thought I would, but I managed to get into radio from work experience, and I always wanted to be a broadcaster. I wanted to sit and read the news. I wanted to be like, "Good evening, welcome, and here is your top news."
And today it's raining.
And today it's
and
raining.
Tomorrow,
I wanted to throw in the weather. I wanted to do all of that, and my mum was very aware, my dad was very aware what I wanted to do, and I managed to get in work experience from a radio station which was very local to us, like 5-minute drive along the road. It was next to my school, and I didn't leave after work experience. I just stayed around like a bad smell, did production, did like music logs, street team, that's out on the streets promoting the station, giving out pens, and I loved it. It was the best job ever. And that's all I had known, really, was radio from that young age. I got to press buttons and drive desks, and it was excellent, but I wanted to go on air, so I was in the right place to do it. I got good guidance. I would sit in, voiceover booths for hours on a Friday night and a Saturday night. That's what I did with my time. So it was all worth it in the end. But yeah, radio from a young age, then went into TV when I moved to London. And that was like producer, reporter. Thoroughly enjoyed that, getting to see what telly was like. It's so different from radio, so different. And now I'm mostly back in radio and still doing a bit of TV on the side, so it's going very, very well. I love sport, having transitioned from music radio to now sports broadcast. Yeah. It's different, but it's the right time, and I'm loving it, and it's just, I feel very grateful to be working in this industry. It's amazing.
What were the jobs that you didn't like to do but had to do to get your foot in the door?
I guess there was no job that I did that I didn't like, because I always was excited by the opportunity.
Okay.
Like and that's the truth.
That was the carrot on the stick for you.
Yeah. I was like, I'm in the building, So that was a huge part of it. You were seeing, these presenters who I used to listen to going to school were there in the office next to you, and then you would, be making them cups of tea. And I still do that. Still love making the tea, And, things like just having that opportunity to be around people. One job I didn't really like, I won't say where it was.
Don't.
But it just lasted too long.
Okay.
I was ready for the next step, and I guess I sat waiting for the next step. But if one thing I've learned is that you've got to go looking for it, and I maybe left that a little bit too long. But I still enjoyed every moment of it along the way, and look back, and it was a big learning curve. It was, again, a different group, a different network scene, working with different managers, meeting different faces who were all part of one station or one output. There was nothing wrong with coming from that role at the end of the day, and a lot of people remembered me from that role and then progressing into different things. So I think it was all for the right reasons.
In fairness, whenever you do look back, it always makes sense, and I do think I'd like to highlight the fact that you said the concept of not waiting for the phone to ring.
Yeah.
And that's quite an easy trap that you could fall into, especially in this space. Now, what I want to touch on as well is you are also doing YouTube, you're podcasting with Ruesha. You're also kind of branding yourself independently as well. Yeah. Where did that decision come in? Is that just to keep the ball rolling, and is it that drive and grit to...
That was Ruesha. That was Ruesha's idea. She, I think, has so much character and personality, and also I think she has a lot to share, and there's an interesting side of her that the more Ireland media, like from the FAI or the Ireland camp, from the national team started to up their social media a bit more. I could see just from looking that Ruesha would get a lot of positive comments about her personality and the fact that she's a bit mental. You know, and one day I'd taken her on the podcast with me, and I was like, I want you to do the football side of things for me, because she's a professional footballer. She knows it more than I could know it. And she did it, and she was a bit of crack, and we had a good time. And then afterwards, she was like, I think maybe I would like to do that. And I was like, well, why don't you start your own channel? She was like, I've been thinking about saying maybe I should do it. So then we started to do a lot more together. From the podcast, everybody really enjoyed that. Multimedia is everything in this industry. You've got to get it up on the old TikTok. I mean, even though there are people who get it up, we're barely off air. We've barely shut down the computer, and it's like up on TikTok. And yeah, just we've got to push it and do as much as we can. And yes, there are other opportunities, the things that we would like to do together, you know, as sisters, and for the better of women's football and for the banter, you know. So we do it together, and it's working really nicely. But that was her idea. That was her idea to, like, you know, I'm mainstream media.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of rules you have to follow. Whereas with YouTube and your podcast, it's really your content, and I'm still trying to get on that level. You know?
Is it hard to let go though? Because you are formally trained in that way.
Yeah,
it's like
but it's funny because we've been discussing that earlier tonight. Like, it's all about, a lot of it is about being yourself. Yet you're scared to be yourself in case people judge you, right? Or people think, oh, you're the class clown, or you're not good enough, or you're not serious enough. And now in the mainstream media work, a lot of the feedback I'm given from my bosses, or, you know, our consultants at the top, are like, tell us more about your personal life. Tell us about your kids this morning. Talk to us about that Barney you had with your husband. Or, you know, it's all about sharing, because people want to know you a little bit more.
they want to relate to you.
Exactly. So Ruesha actually is trying to steer me a little bit more on that, and I'm just trying to bring her down a level or two before we all get cancelled.
Yeah. We won't talk about
All
that.
about balance, you know?
No. Next question, actually. So, on the topic of women's sports now, and yourself and Ruesha are obviously sisters. You were exposed to women's
I'm much
football.
better looking. Obviously,
Yeah.
we can establish that.
Yeah,
now.
sorry about that,
that's
Ruesha.
fine.
Growing up, you're with Ruesha, you're going to all her games, that sort of thing. You're working in radio.
Yeah.
Was there a point in time where you had to fight with producers, or not even fight, but argue your case on, listen, you should be covering this.
Yeah.
It's right here.
Yeah.
I want to hear those stories.
Yeah.
You don't need to say who.
You still have those conversations. There are certain medias that it works and certain medias that it doesn't. Certain brands that are for it and some that just aren't. It's not what they're looking for, you know. And that's fine. You don't have to force sports on people, or you know gender of sports on people that aren't looking for that kind of thing. That's absolutely fine. But I did think a while ago that more had to be done. And I had conversations with some people, and they were like, nope. And then I would go to the next person, and they would say, yeah. So definitely, it's not accepting. You know, the boss is the boss at the end of the day in some companies, so you can't overrule them. You're not going to change their minds on something. But when more people start to show interest, and more people kind of gather as a group, and more people talk about it, and it's not just one person beating the drum, it makes a difference. But one conversation did shock me. You know, one conversation, somebody was like, nobody cares. Nobody cares about that. I do not care about that. And I remember being a bit like, oh, I'm a bit hurt by somebody saying it so brutally like that. But there's some sports I don't care about, but I would never feel to be as malicious about telling someone who did care about it. You know, but we move on. It's fine. Women's sports is taking over. Women's football is on the level that it's on through people having these conversations, but also because it's in the right place and it's taken off. And, you know, people can have that opinion. It doesn't change anything, you know. They'll be left behind, and it's fine.
I love what you said there, because it is going to be like in the past very soon.
Yeah.
Because things are moving so quick all of a sudden.
Like, we've been talking about my kids, like, boy-girl twins. Me always watching Ruesha as a girl play football was normal because she was my sister, right? But now you're looking at young girls with 5-a-side teams. It's funny because Riva, my girl, has this normal, her upbringing is watching like Arsenal sell out the Emirates and watching Ruesha play at a World Cup. That's what they think is normal. You know, so that is it's a change of the time, and if you can't keep up and evolve with that, then really it's your problem. You know, if you want to fight the fact that women's football is going somewhere, or the fact that women's sport's happening, and you want to fight that, then you are the problem. You know, it's not going anywhere. Get on the wave or drown. That was what I mean.
Soz. You are now not even dealing, but your co-hosts, your colleagues are some of the biggest names, and there's not even competition there. But what's it like working with all these women? What's it like working with Jill Scott and everyone else?
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy.
Funny, Ruesha and Jill played together for a spell at Aston Villa.
Go on.
And Ruesha would always talk about what good entertainment Jill is, like how funny she is and how they always had a good laugh and they were up for the crack. And I just couldn't really picture Jill like that until I met her. We worked together at the Champions League final for DAZN, and I just really rate her. Really, I mean, she's loved wherever she goes. You know, amazing how her life's changed. You know, like you look at like Beth Mead, Leah Williamson, Alessia Russo, Lauren James. Yeah, the difference. But Jill's went ever so slightly of a different turn. True. She was part of that Euros winning side. She was a huge part of the character of that team. The amount of people that loved Jill in that team. Then she went, I'm a celebrity, and then she just like, whether you liked women's football or not, you started to love Jill Scott. Yeah. You know, and she's respected in whatever room she goes into, you know, because she can handle herself and she doesn't back down. And she can fight a good fight, and she can talk the talk, and she can walk the walk. So I think people like Jill are great for setting an example for women's football to men, you know, because she can just give it as good as she gets it, you know. Now,
the last one is, what does it take to get to the position that you're in? So you obviously have goals, you want to go places, but you've already gone so far. A lot of people that are listening and watching this right now do want to be in the position that you were in.
Yeah.
What are the little steps, if you were to summarize everything?
Network, DM everyone, email everyone, go to events, shake hands, be annoying, as in always chat the door, always ask for advice, start your own stuff, don't wait for anyone to come and chat at your door or phone you. Start your own channels, start your own vlogs, start your own podcast, do whatever it is for you to work on being better, you know, to work at being a broadcaster or being a writer. Start your own stuff. Don't wait for a big media outlet to come and ask you to work for them. So start your own stuff to get experience. But one thing now more recently with, you know, the amount of social media abuse or whatever women can get working in sport, I would say is I was always given this advice, have a thick skin. And now I don't really get told that anymore. And I don't know if that's a generational thing, because we're so good at fighting back. We're so good at backing ourselves. But you've got to have a thick skin, because knockbacks will come and knockbacks will hurt. And if you take that and let it kill you and never go on again, then, you know, adversity is a good thing. Being told you're not good enough is a good thing. It makes you better. It makes you prove people wrong. It makes you work harder. So have a thick skin. And I was always told that, Deb, always from so many people. And now I never tell people that. Never tell. You know, so many people say to me, what advice would you give to me? And I think, now in this generation, have a thick skin.
I know.
You know, be able to take it on the chin, get told you're not good enough, get told you need to work harder, get told that you need to change your approach to this or change your approach to that. Be more, you know, flexible. It's not always to be taken as a negative insult to you or so personally, and I think in this day and age we can take things very personally.
I think the reaction is also normalised or sensationalised a bit too.
Yeah. And I get a bit of that. You know, I do get a bit of that. You shouldn't change who you are all the time, but there's always ways to be better. So have a thick skin and work your ass off. You know, really go for it, because if you're good enough and you meet the right people and you network the right way and you're a good person, you know, you will be rewarded for that. So, you know.
Mic drop.
Thank you so much for
joining
me.
You can like and subscribe and leave a message.
Why are you not agreeing with me?
No, I am going to agree with you, but like,
joking.
I also need to make sure that Ruesha doesn't hate me either, you know?
Now you're looking at young girls with 5-a-side teams and starting 11s. My husband got high heels on. Can you hear him in the background?
Yeah. Are you nervous?
Sandwich.
Cover letter worthy DMs. Like.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Oh, that's gas.
Are you in there?
No. Don't get excited.
Are you in our DMs?
No, I'm not. I promise. Check. Mic drop.
Pause drop.
We do it.